It's Freedom Day in South Africa. The country is celebrating 30 years of democracy and the end of apartheid. Well, 3 decades on, the president, has said that South Africa is in a better place than it was 3 decades ago. Well, to speak more on today's festivities, we can cross over to Eunice Masson, who is our correspondent in South Africa. Eunice, tell us what the feeling is in South Africa today.
That's a question many ask today, to be honest. 30 years ago today, the South African flag symbolizing democracy in our country was hoisted for the very first time, and it signified a new era, led by who we know, the late former President Nelson Mandela. But celebrating this new era today, 3 decades on, is unfortunately overshadowed by an array of challenges, varying from high crime rates to low rates of employment. And to commemorate this Freedom Day, President Cyril Ramaphosa highlighted economic and employment growth in the country. He said the economy has tripled in size since 1994, and also that employment increased from 8 million to over 16 million. But that is, of course, also an indication of a growing population. Nonetheless, changes have been made in the country, and one would be ignorant not to acknowledge those changes. But what was also evident in the president's speech is him repeating this phrase of, we still have a long way to go in regards to education, equality, social development, and basic services. And I think that is more or less the majority feel in the country today on Freedom Day. People are not sure what exactly they are celebrating, and it really has become a political motivated day. However, this year's Freedom Day is also different in the sense that for the first time, the very party that led us into this new era of freedom is not certain of its majority governance after the national election that is scheduled for next month. In 1994, the ANC received 62% of the national vote, but that support has already declined in the previous elections. All in all, it is important to reflect on a day such as today, but where we come from, post-apartheid to democracy, and perhaps be more intentional in our actions to create a freedom that not only serves a few, but actually every South African, really.
Eunice Masson, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your analysis.